Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series reading Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Without further ado, returning to Oliver Twist as read by Lord Naren White. Unworthy son, coward, liar, you who hold your councils with thieves and murderers in dark rooms at night, you whose plots and wiles have brought a violent death upon the head of one worth millions such as you, who from your cradle were gall and bitterness to your own father's heart, and in whom all evil passions, vice, and profligacy festered, till they found a vent in a hideous disease which made your face an index even to your mind. You, Edward Leeford, do you still brave me? No, 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 returned the coward, overwhelmed by these accumulated charges. Every word, cried the gentleman, every word that has passed between you and this detested villain is known to me. Shadows on the wall have caught your whispers and brought them to my ear. The sight of the persecuted child has turned vice itself, and given it the courage and almost the attributes of virtue. Murder has been done, to which you were morally, if not really, a party. No, no, interposed Monks. I knew nothing of that. I was going to inquire the truth of the story when you overtook me. I didn't know the cause. I thought it was a common quarrel. It was the partial disclosure of your secrets, replied Mr. Brownlow. Will you disclose the whole? Yes, I will. Set your hand to a statement of truth and facts, and repeat it before witnesses? That I promise to. Remain quietly here, until such a document is drawn up, and proceed with me to such a place as I deem most advisable, for the purpose of attesting it. If you insist upon that, I'll do that also, replied Monks. You must do more than that, said Mr. Brownlow. Make restitution to an innocent and unoffending child, for such he is, although the offspring of a guilty and most miserable love. You have not forgotten the provisions of the will. Carry them into execution so far as your brother is concerned, and then go where you please. In this world you need meet no more. While Monks was pacing up and down, meditating with dark and evil looks on this proposal, and the possibilities of evading it, torn by his fears on one hand, and his hatred on the other, the door was hurriedly unlocked, and a gentleman, Mr. Losberne, entered the room in violent agitation. The man will be taken, he cried. He will be taken tonight. The murder? Asked Mr. Brownlow. Yes, yes, replied the other. His dog has been seen lurking about some old haunt, and there seems little doubt his master either is or will be there under cover of darkness. Spies are hovering about in every direction. I've spoken to the men who are charged with his capture, and they tell me he cannot escape. A reward of £100 is proclaimed by government tonight. I will give 50 more, said Mr. Brownlow, and proclaim it with my own lips upon the spot if I can reach it. Where is Mr. Maylie? Harry? Harry, as soon as he had seen your friend here, safe in a coach with you, he hurried off to where he heard this, replied the doctor, and mounting his horse, sallied forth to join the first party at some place in the outskirts agreed upon between them. Fagin, said Mr. Brownlow. What of him? When I last heard, he had not been taken, but he will or is by this time. They're sure of him. Have you made up your mind? Asked Mr. Brownlow in a low voice of Monks. Yes, he replied. You will be secret with me? I will. Remain here till I return. It is your only hope of safety. They left the room, and the door was again locked. What have you done? Asked the doctor in a whisper. All that I could hope to do, and even more. Coupling the poor girl's intelligence with my previous knowledge, and the result of our good friend's inquiries on the spot, I left him no loophole of escape, and laid bare the whole villainy which by these lights became as plain as day. Write and appoint the evening after tomorrow at 7 for the meeting. We shall be down there a few hours before, but shall require rest, especially the young lady, who may have greater need of firmness than either of you or I can quite foresee just now. But my blood boils to avenge this poor murdered creature. Which way have they taken? Drive straight to the office and you will be in time, replied Mr. Losberne. I will remain here. The two gentlemen hastily separated, each in a fever of excitement wholly uncontrollable. Chapter 50. The Pursuit and Escape. Near to that part of the Thames on which the church at Rotherhithe abuts, where the buildings on the banks are dirtiest and the vessels on the river blackest with the dust of colliers, and the smoke of close-built, low-roofed houses, there exists the filthiest, the strangest, the most extraordinary of the many localities that are hidden in London, wholly unknown even by name to the great mass of its inhabitants. To reach this place, the visitor has to penetrate through a maze of close, narrow, and muddy streets, thronged by the rougest and poorest of waterside people, and devoted to the traffic they may be supposed to occasion. The cheapest and least delicate provisions are heaped in the shops. The coarsest and commonest articles of wearing apparel dangle at the salesman's door, and stream from the house parapet and windows, jostling with unemployed laborers of the lowest class, ballast heavers, coal whippers, brazen women, ragged children, and the raff and refuse of the river. He makes his way with difficulty along, assailed by offensive sights, and smells from the narrow alleys, which branch off on the right and left, and deafened by the clash of ponderous wagons that bear great piles of merchandise from the stacks of warehouses that rise from every corner. Arriving at length in streets remoter and less frequented by than those which he has passed, he walks beneath tottering house fronts and projecting over the pavement, dismantled walls that seem to totter as he passes, chimneys half crushed, half hesitating to fall, windows guarded by rusty iron bars that time and dirt have almost eaten away, every imaginable sign of desolation and neglect. In such a neighborhood, beyond Dockhead, in the borough of Southwark, stands Jacob's Island, surrounded by a muddy ditch, 6 or 8 feet deep and 15 or 20 wide when the tide is in, once called Mill Pond, but known in the days of this story as Folly Ditch. It is a creek or inlet from the Thames, and can always be filled at high water by opening the sluices at the lead mills from which it took its old name. At such times, a stranger, looking from one of the wooden bridges thrown across it at Mill Lane, will see their inhabitants of the houses on either side, lowering from their back doors and windows, buckets, pails, domestic utensils of all kinds, in which to haul the water up. And when his eyes turn from these operations to the houses themselves, his utmost astonishment will be excited by the scene before him. Crazy wooden galleries, common to the backs of half a dozen houses, with holes from which to look upon the slime beneath, windows, broken and patched, with poles thrust out on which to dry the linen that is never there, rooms so small, so filthy, so confined, that the air would seem too tainted even for the dirt and squalor which they shelter, wooden chambers thrusting themselves out above the mud, and threatening to fall into it, as some have done, dirt-besmeared walls and decaying foundations, every repulsive lineament of poverty, every loathsome indication of filth, rot, and garbage, all these ornament the banks of Folly Ditch. In Jacob's Island the warehouses are roofless and empty. The walls are crumbling down, the windows are windows no more. The doors are falling into streets, the chimneys are blackened, but they yield no smoke. And we'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.